¿Estás escuchando? ¿No? ¿Sabes hablar? Lo sabemos. No pareces humano. Pero tampoco pareces vacío. ¡Que me contestes!
Hey everyone, it's Wildman. I hope you are doing well, and in today's video we are going to be diving into the incredibly talented EXP Goat's YouTube channel. Now if you don't remember, EXP Goat is the creator of the analog horror series called Dexter the Dog. We have covered the channel a couple of times in the past now. Most recently we did end up covering La Chica Flor, which we did all kind of collectively agree that she was a little bit of a hear me out. However, in this video we are going to be checking back in with the ongoing series on the channel called Dexter the Dog, specifically diving into this video that just dropped I think last week. And if you do need a little bit of a refresher on the series, we will be diving into that as well, but you also have the option to skip it, so that's cool. And before we get into it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment bruh, as all these things do help me out a lot. And yeah, let's get into it. So to quickly recap the series of Dexter the Dog, essentially in the series there was this project that was being conducted by an organization called the CICA, or the Center for Investigations for Alternative Science. The acronym doesn't really match up just because it is in Spanish though, and this organization did plan to create a portal to another dimension, and the project was called Portals Through Mirrors. However, in the process of doing so, they accidentally let this entity in, which they would later call 0002, or nicknamed Dexter, the entity that resembled that of a dog, taking on this anthropomorphic form. However, the creature would eventually escape the facility and wreak havoc on all of those that were investigating it, including a man named Valentin Gonzalez, who was the main scientist working on the project. The project was eventually shut down by the CICA, who would report to the rest of the employees that it was shut down, but never gave any specifics as to why. They did, however, say the portal was closed and experiment 0002 was trapped inside. This, however, would be far from the case, as the entire staff working on the project were consumed by the creature, including Valentin, who was acting as our main character in these videos. And after escaping the facility, Dexter would flee into the woods and begin conducting his own experiments, dissecting deer and now humans. So before we dive into that latest installment of the series of Dexter the Dog, I do want to dive into a video called The Goat, just because there is some tie-ins canonically to the series of Dexter, which is technically a series on its own. However, like I said earlier, there is some overlap between this series and Dexter the Dog, so we are going to be diving into it real quick, and then we'll dive into the main video. The video begins with a date stating June 6th, 1985. The person in the video is recording in the woods, and during their attempts to find their way out, they encounter this goat standing there completely by itself, and the goat can be heard bleating repeatedly. And a little bit of an interesting goat fact is that goats may bleat to express impatience or as a way of calling to one another when they are scared or even when they are bored. Also, just as humans have individualized ranges in their vocalizations, so do goats. Some goats may have a louder bleat than others, and this can sound similar to a human screaming or even yelling, which is a little bit of a creepy fact. Imagine you're just in the woods, you think it's a person screaming, you walk over, it's just a goat. But after a bit, the person filming realizes that there is blood all over the mouth of the goat. The case of Julian Martinez was finalized after 3 weeks of analysis. It was declared that Julian was the victim of the wild animal. However, the disappearances continue. We're then brought to this abandoned building with a new narrator this time around. The person recording seems to be an urban explorer who has just found this strange looking door, and unsure of where it leads, her curiosity gets the better of her.
No sé qué pueda haber detrás de esta puerta, pero espero no encontrarme con algo malo. Estoy comenzando a pensar que esto es una mala idea, pero creo que tengo mucha curiosidad.
Inside, the entire room smells incredibly foul, and she begins to believe that there has to be some sinister things happening inside of here. Feeling incredibly unsettled, she wants to leave, but curiosity begs her to find out what's in the other room.
No tengo duda de que todo esto esté pintado con sangre. ¿Qué es esa cosa? Que son 2 cuartos conectados. ¿Sí? Me quiero ir, pero quiero saber qué es eso. ¿Qué? Es como una clase de Dios. ¿Ellos adoraban esto?
Inside, she finds a mural to some sort of god, worshipped by a group, and then this happens.
Estoy sintiendo una curiosidad enorme, como si algo me forzara a seguir viendo.
So moving on to the main video called El Perro Dexter, the video opens up immediately with a siren blaring throughout the entire facility, trying to warn employees that something has gone terribly wrong. The voice on the intercom is telling employees that their immediate evacuation is required, and in the next frame of the video, we are met with a familiar face. Well, at least what's left of it. The man named Valentin Gonzalez, who, as recalling to the previous videos, was one of the scientists working on the project called Portals Through Mirrors, the same project that brought Dexter into existence. Well, I guess not existence, but brought him into ours. They opened a portal to another world and ended up bringing this creature into theirs. And now we can see the aftermath of what Dexter did to him, turning him into a puddle of flesh, completely unrecognizable of what he was. The video opens up with this title sequence, Dexter, El Perro, Unidad Perdida, Parte 1, Lost Unit, Part 1. The video then switches to this talk show style of video, with the aesthetic matching that of an analog show from the 80s. However, before the show's guest can begin their performance, we are interrupted by an announcement from the CICA.
Recibimos con un aplauso a la mexicana Yuri.
CICA, Centro de Investigación Científica Alterna.
Emergency Transmission Channel 2, Open Television, October 18th, 1982, 8:59 p.m. Immediate curfew.
Comunicado oficial. Por orden directa del Centro de Investigación Científico Alterno, se declara toque de queda en los sectores urbanos priorizados a partir de las 21 horas del día de hoy, lunes 18 de octubre de 1982, hasta las 5 horas del día siguiente. Zonas bajo vigilancia. Sector 4B, Sector 5C, Sector 3A, Centro Urbano. Esta medida responde a la detención de actividades no autorizadas durante horas nocturnas, presuntamente vinculadas a ritos clandestinos de carácter perturbador. Solicita a toda la población mantenerse en interiores y reportar cualquier movimiento inusual o símbolos extraños en la vía pública. No los mire, no les hable, no salga. El incumplimiento del toque de queda será considerado como cooperación con grupos hostiles y sancionado conforme al protocolo 1982. Se recomienda desconectar radios de onda corta, cerrar cortinas y mantener la calma. Cualquier sonido extraño
But before the announcement can provide any further details, the video simply cuts out, leading directly to this recording of a phone call. The audio going as follows.
Diga.
Buenas noches, señor Dosna. Le hablo desde el puesto 7A. Tenemos una situación urgente. El experimento 0002 ha escalado las instalaciones del perímetro rojo y...
¿Cómo que escalado? ¿No estaba bajo vigilancia triple?
Sí, señor, pero el personal de visual perdió la imagen a las 20:22 y cuando la recuperaron 0002 ya no estaba en su celda. La compuerta de emergencia apareció forzada desde dentro.
Oh, no puede ser. Escúchame bien, Héctor. Activa de inmediato el protocolo nocturno. Quiero un toque de queda en todas las zonas cercanas.
¿Qué motivo usamos para justificarlo, señor?
Inventa lo que sea. Usa una cortina de las sectas satánicas. Lánzala a los medios locales como alerta nacional. No quiero ni un solo civil en las calles esta noche. Necesitamos atrapar a esa cosa antes de que alguien lo vea.
¿Debo notificar al resto del comité?
No. Solo las divisiones operativas. Nadie más. Esto se mantiene entre nosotros y el equipo de captura. Si 0002 llega a cruzarse con alguien, enciérrenlo con él.
Está bien, señor.
And after this conversation, Mr. Dosna is pretty much saying that he wants to cover the entire thing up, not notify any of the employees that 0002 has escaped, and even going as far as to say that if anybody encounters 0002 in the wilderness or outside of the facility, to lock them up with it. After the conversation, we're then shown this footage of helicopters patrolling the area in search of 0002, labeled as Team Charlie. Then we enter an area with a sign that says Moon Lagoon Forest, followed by someone recording named Gabriel. This person is not associated with the CICA and is deliberately ignoring the curfew that has been enforced by Mr. Dosna and the entire CICA team. Within his recording, Gabriel pretty much says that his entire recording is based off of him genuinely trying to find something supernatural in these woods.
Hola, soy Gabriel. Hay toque de queda en varias zonas de por aquí y dicen que los satánicos siguen sueltos. Si es que algo de eso existe, chance y pueda grabar algo fenomenal. Al parecer es la misma banda que mató a ese chico con María. Cuentan que una cabra maldita se lo comió como parte de una iniciación o un ritual, algo así. Todo eso pasó aquí, en este bosque. Y la verdad, me mata la curiosidad y quiero encontrarme con algo. Aunque tengo un poco de miedo, porque la policía anda con helicópteros, perros y equipos en búsqueda por todos lados. Pero prometo ser cauteloso. Dicen que si encuentran a alguien en la calle se lo pueden llevar. No creo que haya una cabra diabólica suelta, sinceramente. Lo que sí me da cosa es toparme con ese tipo de gente. Con ellos. Pero bueno, ya estoy aquí. Creo que me tocará entrar.
However, saying that he's afraid to encounter the CICA team, saying that honestly he's more freaked out about what they'll do to him than what he might find in these woods. However, perhaps he spoke too soon, because toward the end of Gabriel's recording, he does come face to face with 0002.
¿Cómo habrá llegado esto hasta aquí? Me pregunto si acaso...
After the demise of Gabriel, this message appears on screen, giving us more information about the search. At 10:02 p.m., the classified subject 002 was located in the northeast perimeter of the Moon Lagoon Forest. At the time of the discovery, the subject was in a state of extreme excitement, with visible hematite traces on the limbs and face. The partially devoured corpse of a male individual, preliminarily identified as Gabriel, approximately 18 years old, was found left directly on the side of the experiment, as if it were a kind of offering or immediate discard. The scene has been secured under the biological containment protocol. The body will be transferred to internal facilities for complete forensic analysis. And remembering what was stated earlier, Gabriel will never be seen again by friends or family because, as stated by Mr. Dozna, the CICA General Director, it was very clear that if anyone was found witnessing 0002, they were to have been taken in as well. So as far as the whereabouts of Gabriel, according to the public eye, he will have simply gone missing. After this, we're then shown what happened to Gabriel, turning both Valentin and Gabriel into these mushes of meat. Then a recording of Mr. Dozna cuts in which he states the following.
¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde lo tienen?
0002 ya ingresó a la sala de observación, señor. Lo están estabilizando y si quiere puede verlo desde el cristal.
¿Eso es todo lo que queda? ¿No se mueve?
Se encuentra sedado. Las constantes son erráticas, pero estables, dentro del margen. La contención se mantiene en nivel 5, señor.
Abre el intercomunicador.
¿Quiere hablarle? Aún no sabemos si puede entender o responder.
Canal, Héctor.
Equipo SEA, abran la puerta de observación.
And Mr. Dozna, for some strange reason, after witnessing what 0002 has done to two individuals at this point, decides that it is a good idea for him to enter the room where Dexter is being held. Keep in mind at this point also Dexter is over 10 feet tall. When we try to compare his height to the trees in the forest, this is obviously just kind of a rough estimate, but he is at least 10 feet tall. However, I guess considering that 0002 is sedated, Mr. Dozna believes that nothing will go wrong. However, the footage captured after he goes inside of the containment facility goes like this.
¿Qué cosa eres? ¿Estás escuchando? ¿No? ¿Sabes hablar? Lo sabemos. Contéstame. No pareces humano. Pero tampoco pareces vacío. ¡Que me contestes!
And yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed. Do you think you could throw hands with Dexter and win? I don't think I could. Could you? Let me know. I do want to give a huge thank you to all my beautiful channel members, as well as my ultimate tiers, Kareem, Ariano, and Alejandro from the tower. If you do want early access to videos, as well as your name right here, it's only $1.99. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye. Love you.